All right, let's get real about this. Arguing in a relationship. Most people treat it like the boogeyman of love. You hear "we fight a lot," and immediately your brain goes, oh no, that's toxic, it's doomed, run while you can. As if the only couples who last are the ones who glide through life like a Hallmark movie, kissing in slow motion under fairy lights and never disagreeing about where to order takeout. But here's the plot twist. The couples who never argue, they're the ones you should actually be worried about, because silence doesn't mean peace. Silence often means suppression. And suppressed resentment is basically like leaving raw chicken in the fridge for 3 weeks. You don't see the mess right away, but trust me, it's coming. Listen, arguing is not the opposite of love. Somewhere along the way, we bought into this fairy tale that true love equals eternal harmony. If you fight, it must mean you're not compatible. Wrong. Compatibility doesn't mean identical. It means you can bump against each other, disagree, and still find a way back. Think about it. The only people you never argue with are strangers. You don't care enough to. You let the guy at Starbucks spell your name Karen with a K and move on. But your partner? That's different. You share a mortgage, a bed, a Netflix password. Suddenly, who left socks on the floor matters more than global politics. Arguing in its healthier form is a sign you're both still invested. You don't scream at your roommate because he bought the wrong brand of oat milk. You argue with your partner because you want them to understand you, because you're building something together, because their choices actually affect your happiness. I once had a client who proudly said, "We never fight." He said it like he deserved a medal. Meanwhile, his wife was sitting 2 feet away with the body language of a hostage. Guess what? 6 months later, they were separated. Turns out never fighting was code for we avoid every uncomfortable conversation until resentment builds like a volcano. See, conflict isn't the danger. Avoidance is. When you avoid the little fights, the big ones don't go away. They just go underground. And underground fights don't disappear. They fester, they poison, they show up later as sarcasm, emotional distance, or one day just a cold announcement, "I don't love you anymore." So why do couples who fight sometimes last longer? Because every argument is a chance to practice 2 survival skills: honesty and repair. When you fight, you're forced to put your real feelings on the table. I feel ignored. I don't like how you talk to me in front of your friends. I need more help with the kids. It's not pretty, but it's real, and real is better than fake harmony any day. And then comes repair. That moment after the fight where you figure out, can we make up? Can we listen? Can we soothe each other? Can we come back stronger? Repair is like scar tissue. It makes the relationship tougher. Every fight you survive and mend is proof you can handle stress together, am I? But now, let's not romanticize it. Some couples fight constantly and not in a healthy way. If your arguments are more like WWE SmackDowns, loud, cruel, full of cheap shots, that doesn't build intimacy, that builds trauma. But the couples who have small, frequent disagreements, who complain, who poke at each other, but then circle back and laugh, those couples often last longer. It's like exercise. If you never use a muscle, it atrophies. But if you stress it just enough, it gets stronger. Relationships work the same way. A little stress, an argument about money, chores, sex, followed by resolution is like a workout for your bond. Oh, here's the thing. Fights tell you where the pain points are. If you argue about money, maybe it's not just about dollars. Maybe it's about security or fairness or power. If you argue about sex, maybe it's not about frequency, but about feeling desired. The couples who stay together longer are the ones who use fights as data. Instead of "we're doomed," they go, "but okay, this keeps coming up. What's underneath it?" They learn about each other's triggers, fears, needs. And every time they figure one out, they grow more fluent in each other's language. But let me be clear, not all fighting is created equal. Psychologist John Gottman, the relationship guru, says he can predict divorce with 90% accuracy by watching how couples argue. The biggest red flag? Contempt. Eye-rolling, mocking, sneering, treating your partner like they're beneath you. That's the poison. Couples who argue but still respect each other, who roll their eyes but then soften, who snap but then apologize, those couples can last. Couples who fight dirty, who weaponize each other's vulnerabilities, who pile on contempt, that's the beginning of the end. Ever noticed how makeup sex is a thing? That's not an accident. Passion and conflict both run on intensity. The energy you use to yell, "Ooh, why don't you ever listen?" that can also be flipped into, "I want you so badly right now." Same nervous system, different expression. That's why some of the most passionate couples are also the ones who argue the most. They feel strongly, they react strongly, they live in bold colors, not pastels. Sure, it's messy, but messiness can mean aliveness. Ironically, the real killers of long-term love are not arguments. They're boredom, apathy, avoidance. When you stop caring enough to fight, you've stopped caring enough to connect. The couples who last are often the ones who argue at the dinner table, slam a door, then crawl back into the same bed that night. Because underneath the chaos is a shared belief this matters. You matter to me enough to fight for. Then what does healthy arguing actually look like? Let's break it down for real, because healthy fighting isn't about who's louder or who gets the last word. It's about how you fight. The rules you both agree on, even when emotions are high. First off, stay on topic. I mean it. Don't suddenly drag in that thing from 2013 unless you're writing a memoir or auditioning for a reality show. Stick to what's actually happening right now. And second, no cheap shots. You can absolutely say, I feel hurt, or that really upset me. But once you go down the road of, you're just like your lazy father, you're not fighting fair, you're just throwing grenades. Then there's the underrated skill, taking breaks. Sometimes the most loving thing you can say in the middle of a heated moment is, I need 10 minutes. That's not avoidance, that's regulation. And finally, even if the problem's not fully solved, end with repair, a hand on their shoulder, a small smile, or just a quiet, we're still on the same team. Just say, that's what builds connection when the dust settles. Because here's the truth. Couples who fight fair don't magically resolve every issue, but what they do is build trust. Trust that even when it gets hard, they'll still choose to come back to each other. The truth is, conflict is unavoidable in a relationship. Two people, two histories, two nervous systems sharing a life, it's impossible not to clash. The couples who make it don't avoid conflict. They integrate it. They accept it as part of the deal, like taxes or rush hour traffic. And by embracing it, they strip away the illusion that love is about never disagreeing. Real love is about disagreeing and still choosing each other the next morning. On paper, perfect harmony sounds amazing. No fights, no tension, just pure bliss. Yeah, right, that's the Disney version, with zero bills, zero trauma, and apparently no actual human emotions. Let's be honest, that whole happily ever after fantasy, sure, it made sense when you were 5, dressed like a princess and eating glitter cupcakes. But if you're still clinging to it at 45, you might want to schedule a consult or two. Okay, jokes aside. Let's talk about why this myth isn't just harmless, it's actually messing with you. The idea that happy couples never fight has ruined more relationships than the fights themselves. Because when couples believe that, the first sign of conflict feels like failure. Instead of leaning in, they panic. Instead of saying, oh, we're normal, they say, we must be wrong for each other. But the truth? If you argue, it means you care enough to show up. It means you haven't checked out. It means the story isn't over. So why do arguing couples sometimes stay together longer? Because they're in the ring together. They practice resilience. They learn to handle storms. And when you survive storms, you stop being scared of rain. The couple who never argues is fragile. They shatter at the first real test. The couple who argues often but makes up, they've been battle tested. They know they can fight, forgive, and move forward. That makes them durable. So if you're sitting there thinking, we fight too much, we must be doomed, maybe pause. Ask yourself, are we fighting with respect? Are we repairing after? Are we learning something from it? If yes, you might actually be stronger than you think. Because at the end of the day, arguing isn't the opposite of love. Indifference is. And if you're still arguing, it means you still give a damn. And that, messy, loud, imperfect as it is, might just be the very reason you'll stay together longer than the couples who never raise their voices at all.